the CI in ciLiving.
It's been more than 70 years since a Tuscola woman's husband was captured by German forces during World War II. But Emogene Burrows remembers it like it was yesterday. She sat down with our Ryan Burke to share her story of never-ending love.
Well, I kind of always had a crush on him.
High school. It, like so many other love stories, is where it all begins.
I think he had invited me to go to Finn's townhouse for a soda, and I got a banana split, and they were a quarter then.
True of many stories from the greatest generation, the story of Roy and Emogene is one of joy and pain, but above all, one of love.
He was drafted into service in 1943, so I seen him off at the railroad station in Sullivan, and then he was in a year. And then he wrote me a letter and asked me to come down because he wanted to get married, and he was stationed in Charleston, South Carolina.
After getting married, Sergeant Roy Yarnell shipped off to Europe, and that's when it happened.
I also had received a letter from him saying, I feel like I'm out on a limb. He just felt it coming, I think. So then I didn't hear any more from him, because he was captured, see.
Captured on Christmas Day on a B-24 that was attacked by the Germans. Amazingly, he survived, but quickly was captured and taken to a prison camp where Roy's cousin says the conditions were horrific.
He would tell him that they're starving. Potato peeling soup. And he made, they changed him from one prison camp to another, one stalag to another. At about 100 miles they marched.
For Emogene, the news of his capture was almost impossible to comprehend.
My sister Ruth, very firm, she said, Emogene, we have something for you. Guess what it was? It was a cablegram from the U.S. government telling me that Roy was missing in action. Yep.
Must have been unbelievable.
It was unbelievable, and it was devastating.
There were so many unknowns.
There was times when my face was as small as a mustard seed, but I came back.
Amazingly, Roy came back as well, liberated 5 months after his capture. He'd lost 60 pounds, but made it home.
I didn't prepare for nothing. I just know he was going to be home, and we're just going to start our life. That was it, you know.
And start their lives they did, but the good times were short-lived.
We picked up where we left off. We went and got us a restaurant because he was a mechanic and I was a cook, so they thought that's going to be it. And we were there 6 years, and then the good Lord took him.
He'd spent his life fighting to escape capture and fighting to stay alive. But a brain aneurysm was one enemy he couldn't fight. He collapsed one afternoon at work in 1960.
I called and they brought him up to the hospital, and I said, I don't think your dad's gonna make it.
The loss was devastating for Emogene. His death attributed to brain injuries suffered during his capture. She fought to have her husband recognized as a casualty of the war, and in the 90s got to meet Senator John McCain, who honored Roy's memory with a medal. Even 55 years after his death, Emogene still has love for her sergeant.
Oh, he was very special. Yes, he was. Best guy I ever met.
So true of life, that a love that began over a banana split and carried across the world and back will live on in more than just pictures and newspaper clippings, but will live on in their hearts.
Amazing. Emogene moved to Arizona following her husband's death, but now lives back in central Illinois once again to be closer to her family. She remains very active with local veterans groups, including the VFW. Stay with us. We'll be